Hey there, Canberra, Australia. It's Eric Hoyt, webcasting here from the University of Wisconsin-Madison Department of Communication Arts. I'm preparing this video for the History Cinema Digital Archives Conference that you're all at, or if you're not there, you should know about it. It's a great conference that Jill Matthews has organized, really thinking through what it means as film archives move to the digital and how that changes our research process, our understanding of history. And I'm really sorry I can't be there in person to fully participate in the conference. My wife is almost 8 months pregnant, can't go across the world to Australia at this moment, as much as I'd love to visit. But I'm grateful to be able to virtually and digitally participate and share some of the work that I've been doing that I think speaks to this conference theme. The title of my talk is Data Mining Silent Cinema History. And there's kind of two meanings to that title. We'll be talking about some data mining techniques and this data set, particularly that pertains to early cinema and silent cinema. But I also kind of like this idea of sort of the silent film histories that are out there, not so much because the movies don't have sound, but because we haven't told them yet, right? The silences that are part of our historical knowledge, and how the digital can open up new opportunities for discovering and telling those histories. So this presentation I'm giving you will come in 4 parts. The first part is really thinking about access, and particularly focusing on the work I've been involved with the Media History Digital Library. The second part will be thinking about discovery, and particularly the search engine and visualization platform that I developed with collaborators for the Media History Digital Library called Lantern. The third part will be thinking about what I call the interpretive challenge. Once you have all these different sources, so much information, how do you interpret them? How do you draw sort of good, meaningful conclusions? And in the fourth part, I'll be talking much more about data mining and what I think of as the data mining opportunity here. That when we're confronting this interpretive challenge, instead of kind of running away from the digital, actually an embrace of it and realizing how it can work quite well and productively with existing research methods like close reading, archival research, is really productive. Okay, so we'll get started here. And I mean, the place to start really is access, that it's hard to do data mining if you don't have that data in a computer machine actionable format. So for the last 4 years, I've been working with David Pierce on the Media History Digital Library. David Pierce founded the Media History Digital Library, and the vision has really been to join institutions that have collections of periodic material and books related to film and TV history with sponsors, funders who will pay for that digitalization, and we've been coordinating this. So, you know, take for instance an important early trade paper like Moving Picture World, well, through the collections of the Museum of Modern Art Library and through the sponsorship of Domator, the International Society for the Study of Early Cinema, we've been able to digitize Moving Picture World from 1907 to 1919. But that's not the only early cinema or silent cinema publication that we have digitized. We've also digitized trade papers including the Film Daily, Film Index, at least a couple years of it, Exhibitors Herald, Motion Picture News, New York Clipper, Exhibitors Trade Review, Cinematography, and what is probably the most famous of all trade papers, Variety. We've also digitized fan magazines including Photoplay, Motion Picture Magazine, Picture Play Magazine, Screenland, Shadowland, and Film Fun. And then there's lots of other publications that we've scanned too. Yearbooks, which offer all kinds of information about the film industry. Books, okay, lots of actual books about different aspects of the movies. And then also magazines that really kind of defy easy categorization. You know, I'm thinking here of magazines like Close Up and Film Spectator, which both combine film criticism with kind of a nod toward being a practitioner, as well as Cinemundial, a really fascinating Spanish language publication that was actually published out of New York City. So before I get any further, let me do it. I went too far. Thank you, Tony. So lots of great material that's been scanned on the Media History Digital Library. If you haven't checked us out yet, mediahistoryproject.org. And I have to give a big shout out here to the Library of Congress Packard campus, which has digitized hundreds of thousands of pages that are now available on the Media History Digital Library. About 60% of the MHDL collections are the result of scanning by the Library of Congress. Thank you, and they've scanned not just silent film material, but lots of material related to TV history, later aspects of film history. Great stuff. Okay, so lots has been digitized, over 500,000 pages, only related to silent film history, about 1.3 million pages total. But the question comes up, I mean, sort of how can you use that? How can you access that? And the need for tools for search and discovery. So, we heard this demand very early on from our users that they were happy that we were scanning material, but they wanted more. They wanted to be able to perform keyword searches across the entire collection at once. So we got started working on a search engine, and I led the development of that. We called it Lantern. And the early iterations of Lantern weren't very good. It would take like 30, 40 seconds to run a search, and even then, it could be difficult to print kind of the snippet that you were looking for. But we kept working, and really through the collaboration of a number of extremely talented individuals, Carl Hagenmeyer, Wendy Hagenmeyer, Andy Myers, Derek Long and Tony Tran, Pete Singstock, Kit Hughes, we developed something that's now available at lantern.mediahist.org, where you can type in a query and in a fraction of a second, run that search across all of the MHDL collections. We print the snippets of the hits that are relevant, give you the opportunity to download a high-res version of that page, a low-res version of the page, or use the read in context feature, which opens up the Book Reader, a great software program developed by the Internet Archive. And from there, you can really see how this snippet you found fits in within the context of that magazine. Also, in the process of developing those search features, we kind of wanted to reflect on the way that film historians have used these magazines in the past. And it's here I'm going to invite up the gentleman behind the camera, Tony Tran, Derek Long. Come on in, guys. Tony Tran, Derek Long,
hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks for coming. So last summer, when we were working on Lantern, Derek, you collected quite a bit of data. Tony, you designed some visualizations with that data. Let's talk about it. Derek, what were the two data sets you looked at?
Yes, so the first data set that I looked at was the Air and Sun newspaper directories. These were annual directories that were published for many, many years. And essentially I was recording circulation numbers for film periodicals, broadcasting periodicals, and recording them in a spreadsheet that we essentially have turned into a kind of mini database.
Which you guys can download online.
Exactly. I guess what struck me about that first data set was, for one, the sheer number of publications. We tracked something like 500 or 600 unique publications for the period from 1900 to 1960, which is a huge number. But also the sheer proportion of those publications that it seemed like film scholars and broadcasting scholars just weren't using. And so that kind of, I think, opened my eyes, and hopefully it'll open your eyes as well, to the sort of great unread of film and media studies. The second data set that I looked at was the JSTOR Data for Research data set. This is a database that JSTOR keeps to track the number of times a particular periodical or journal has been cited in a particular article. And there are various ways you can break down that data by year, by publication. But that was just a really nice correlating data set with the air and sun data, because there we could actually get some quantitative information in terms of how much particular periodicals were being used in film and media studies. So it was kind of an interesting interplay the way those two data sets worked together.
Yeah, exactly. And then Tony, on the homepage of Lantern, you designed some visualizations with that too.
Yeah. So on the first level, we just wanted to make something a little bit more visual. It can organize based on title, how many pages we have, and I think it appeals a little bit more to students than scholars, but just to have something, a bit of color to the homepage. But what we're trying to do on a deeper level is try to take the data that Derek has collected and to look at ranking the journals on or the magazines and how many times they've been cited on JSTOR, so you can rank it. You can also find which magazines haven't been cited. And then kind of start to play around with it as a comparative discovery tool where you can find which journals haven't been cited at all in JSTOR and then look at the circulation numbers and kind of correlate and see what's missing and missing in kind of film history and film history research.
Yeah, and done in kind of a nice interactive, playful way. And some users have used that. I also took then that same data and used it to make an infographic that uses the metaphor of the Snellen chart for visual acuity. And you can see it here. And what I did was take, again, this data that Derek had collected and sized magazine covers proportionally to the number of the number of magazines in the JSTOR Data for Research database that had cited them. This infographic and the homepage visualizations are trying to make a point. We're not using most of the publications that are out there. So this is exciting that we can disrupt that canon and people will now discover magazines that they haven't before just by doing Lantern searches. But on the other hand, I think this speaks again to the interpretive challenge, that kind of how better off are we if we're using sources that we poorly understand. And this, I think, gets us to the last section, the data mining opportunity, how we can actually use digital technology to try to improve our understanding of the sources and improve our understanding of silent film history, which are discussed in those sources. What do you say we get out of the studio and show them the lab?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Here we go into the IMC where we have been doing this data mining work. And it really helps when you're doing data mining to have an awesome facility like we have here and also great collaborators. Tony being just one, also you, Derek, thanks for being behind the camera now. Kit Hughes, who isn't here today, Leah Jacobs, Michelle Hilms, Peter Gorman, Kevin Ponto, amazing guy in computer science and design studies here at UW. So this is the lab. We've been doing most of our work. During the school year, it's being used for classes, but we get it this summer to ourselves. 16 very high performing computers alongside a very big storage network and a server. And there's a lot we can do here. So over here are a couple of the computers that we've been using for topic modeling. So topic modeling has become pretty hot in the digital humanities, taking a corpus of text and basically asking the computer to look for patterns in it. And it winds up looking for co-occurrences of certain words and makes guesses that these probably represent topics. So here, for instance, not on these screens, but the one you see now is a topic model for one of those magazines that has never been cited in JSTOR, Projection Engineering. This is from a year's worth of it in 1931. And I think what you can see that makes topic modeling powerful is how, film appears in multiple topics, right? We know that's important, but they give us a sense for how film is being talked about. We can tell that one has to do more with film sound, while this other one has to do more with storage of film vaults. And then what's also nice about topic modeling is that you spot a pattern or get a sense of something that you might not have guessed was there. So for instance, this topic in projection engineering that has to do with education, right? That would be interesting to someone studying non-theatrical film, and maybe they wouldn't have thought to go to projection engineering, but this suggests, hey, there's something here for it. So we've really been liking what we found through topic modeling. Now we should also acknowledge there's problems with it. You get results where there's no topic coherence. Sometimes, you think something's a topic, but actually there's issues with topic stability. But I think particularly for kind of working with medium sizes of data sets, topic modeling can be powerful, particularly when you pair it with other forms of research. Also using close reading, doing archival research. I've been exploring lawsuits around these particular magazines. And when you synthesize all those things together, you just get a richer sense of what these publications were really about. Okay, now here's where I should acknowledge, I love these magazines. I'm working on a book about the history of the trade press, but I realize for most of you doing research, most film and media history researchers aren't as curious just about these publications themselves. Usually looking through these publications is more of a means toward an end, right? Researching a particular figure in history, time period, collection of films or television programs. And this is where Project Arclight comes in. So Arclight is a collaboration between the University of Wisconsin-Madison and Concordia University in Montreal. I'm the PI of the American team, and Charles Ackland is the PI of the Canadian team. And we're very fortunate and grateful to have received a Digging into Data grant that's being sponsored by the IMLS and SSHRC and being coordinated through the NEH Office for Digital Humanities. And this is letting us work on a different approach to data mining that really is inspired by Twitter analytics. Just like how companies now are studying how sort of discussions about media content, right, change and are trending on Twitter, we are trying to treat the Media History Digital Library collections and the Chronicling America digital newspaper collections like a giant Twitter stream, to be able to see sort of what types of film titles and people are trending, what are the norms, what are the outliers, are there spatial dimensions to this kind of discourse? So it's really exciting, and we're in the early stages of this. By the end, we'll have a web-based application that you can use to be able to run queries, to get a sense for how these entities are trending over time. Right now, we're doing some local experiments, and we were given a huge gift of a data set. Paul Spare very generously shared the research that he, Susan Dalton, Lundquist, and Lawrenson collected about films from 1908 to 1920. They collected data on over 36,000 films and have those film titles. They also have data on over 15,000 people involved. So what we're doing is we're taking this data set, okay, and thanks to our very own Derek Long, who's behind the camera. Hey, Derek. Derek wrote a Perl script that's taking that Paul Spare data and converting it into XML that we can use and then pipe into this Arclight index we're creating to look for sort of, if we're comparing thousands of film titles, running queries very quickly on thousands of film titles, thousands of individuals, getting the results, aggregating them and being able to compare them and say sort of, what are the norms of how a particular entity, film, person is trending in this discourse? And what are the outliers? And what are the unexpected outliers? We would expect to see Mary Pickford very prominently in the discourse, but are there other actresses or female directors who we haven't thought as much about, but who actually turn out to be quite important through this research? And so rather than just beginning a case study with the particular historical entity in mind in the first place, you could begin a case study when you realize that this person, this film, is an outlier, or is actually quite representative of what's going on in history. So we have a long way to go. We're still working on this, but we're really excited about it. And even just doing this video has been really fun. Right, Tony? Having fun? Yeah, so we've been having fun. And we'll do another one to let you know how things are going with Arclight. What I'll conclude with, though, is this thought, or two thoughts maybe, two takeaways from this. One is that this kind of data mining research, it doesn't replace the existing research methods that we have. I think it's best used when it's integrated, used alongside traditional archival research, traditional close reading, that all of these harnessed together just give you a better sense of what it is you're studying. And the second takeaway point, and this one is really important, is that you can't forget that first piece I was talking about, the access piece. That I think a lot of the attention these days goes to kind of the frosting, let's say, the exciting data analytics, visualization kind of endeavors, including these ones. But you also have to acknowledge that it requires the cake to be there, right? Like without the Media History Digital Library, without Library of Congress, without Domator, Museum of Modern Art Library, and our many other collaborators, these things wouldn't be online. They wouldn't be online for free. They wouldn't be online with the data accessible this way. So that kind of access work absolutely has to continue. And what's great is that will continue to be there, that I hope we succeed with Arclight. I know we will, but even if we fell flat on our face, you'd have all the data that we've been using. And I hope you use it too. So thank you for letting me speak to you from thousands of miles away. Thank you for listening. And if you have thoughts, comments, I'd love to hear from you on email or Twitter. Thank you very much. Let's get back to work, Tony. Is that Facebook open?
No, that's my name.